Our lead story tonight, the G20 Summit. Prime Minister Modi has just arrived at the G20 Summit being held in Bali, Indonesia. This, of course, is a gathering of the group of 20 of the world's most rich and powerful nations. Maha Siddiqui has the latest. Maha, now, of course, for India, this is an important summit because now the next presidency of the G20 will be handed over to India for the first time on December the 1st.
Absolutely. It's one of the most high-profile events that India will undertake next year when it culminates in a summit in New Delhi in September. But in the run-up over the next 1 year, starting 1st of December when India takes over the presidency, although formally it will be handed over to the Prime Minister by Joko Widodo here in Bali, India will be conducting 200 meetings across 35 sectors across the country related crucially to many issues at the moment that are plaguing the world. The economic crisis, in fact, that has also very close links to the crisis as far as food and energy is concerned, which have been triggered because of the Ukraine war and also because of the COVID-19 pandemic, whose effects we are still seeing across the globe. So a very critical time when India will be taking over the presidency. The Prime Minister has just arrived in Bali. The Prime Minister has several engagements tomorrow apart from participating over the next 2 days in 3 working sessions. One crucial among them is again on energy and food crisis. Remember, India has played a crucial role in mitigating the food crisis as well. So, Sonia, all that and the Prime Minister will also be meeting the Indian community in Bali tomorrow.
Right, and of course, the Prime Minister's 2-day visit. Now, there's no meeting there scheduled with China's President Xi, but the world is watching today that meeting which took place between the American President Joe Biden, that handshake with China's Premier Xi, and of course, this is their first in-person meeting. Now, we're seeing lots of important statements coming out after that 3.5-hour summit they had. What's the update?
Yes, absolutely. Very important statements they're coming out. The most significant being that the leaders have agreed that there can be no nuclear war. And this is certainly important coming as it does with China there at the table as well. Xi Jinping himself agreeing to that, considering that the West believes that China could in fact, and through Joe Biden, be asked to bear upon President Putin that he should not take this war in Ukraine towards a nuclear option, which will be disastrous for the entire world. So that is the most important aspect from this meeting that has come through. The other important aspect is with regards to Taiwan. We were expecting that issue to come up. America, their press release has said that they have condemned the coercion by China. We'll have to wait to see what the Chinese side says specifically on that. And the third aspect being with regards to many other issues that have, in fact, aggravated the tense situation between China and the US over the past few months, which includes trade issues as well. A gamut of issues there discussed in the 3.5 hours.
Right. Thanks so much, Maha, for those updates. We'll keep coming back to you for more at that G20 summit. But let's go across the big headline in India, and that's inflation. And there's good news here for a change. Priyanshi, what's the latest?
Well, Sonia, there's good news both in terms of the retail inflation and the wholesale inflation. Retail inflation has fallen to a 3-month low. It's the lowest since July. Retail inflation is at 6.77% versus 7.4% in the month of September. But retail inflation is still above the Reserve Bank of India's 6% threshold. The RBI has a target to keep inflation within 2 to 6%, but it has been above that level since January this year, as you can see in that graph. But what has driven the fall in retail inflation this time in October? Remember, the rising global crude oil prices were driving the prices across commodities up in India as well, as they led to higher transportation costs. But now, Brent crude prices have fallen by 16% in the last 6 months, contributing to a fall in our own inflation. Now, food inflation has fallen to 7% from 8.6% in September, and fuel and light inflation has fallen to 9.9% from 10.4% in September. But there's a concerning figure still. Rural inflation is almost at 7%, above the overall figure of 6.77%, and it's above urban inflation for the 5th straight month. So rural India suffering with higher prices even more than urban India. Now, this is the retail inflation, which has gone down as input prices or wholesale prices have also fallen in October. Wholesale price inflation is at the lowest since March 2021. October wholesale inflation is at 8.4% versus 10.8% in September. The wholesale inflation is in single digits for the first time after 18 months. Now, the government said that the decline is primarily due to the fall in the price of mineral oils, basic metals, fabricated metal products, etc. Experts say that this is sure the start of a downward inflation trend, as is being seen globally as well. The Reserve Bank of India has been hiking interest rates to control inflation, so the fall could bring relief to those interest rate hikes in the near future as well.
Priyanshi, thanks so much for that update. And of course, some breathing space then for the government as well on the economy. But some other headlines. Well, the Supreme Court today in observation said that forced conversion is a serious matter which affects national security as well. The Supreme Court said that forced conversion is a very serious issue affecting national security and that the situation will become very difficult if forced conversions are not stopped. They said that the centre should explain steps that are being taken to curb forced conversions. This on a plea by BJP leader Ashwini Upadhyay, who is seeking directions to stop this. Justice M.R. Shah and Justice Hima Kohli asked the Solicitor General Tushar Mehta to give instructions for an action plan by the centre, and they'll hear this plea again on November the 28th. Well, let's go across to the other big headline, and that's, of course, elections, especially Gujarat. Well, with the BJP deciding to drop a number of sitting BJP MLAs, there's an issue with rebels, and even the Congress, the silent campaign, is having a problem. Ankit, what exactly is the rebels issue? Like Himachal, is it something which is worrying the BJP, or is it something which they don't see as a problem at all?
I think they're more comfortable with the rebel problem in Gujarat vis-a-vis Himachal Pradesh, because largely it's Prime Minister Narendra Modi whose face, in fact, people are voting for, not particularly the local MLA. But it still is a concern. At least 5 to 6 MLAs of the Bharatiya Janata Party right now, are in a position where they can damage the party. At least 4 of them, if I can tell our viewers very quickly, which is a confirmed information, are going to file their nomination as, in fact, independent candidates. Just take a look at a few of these. In fact, the MLAs that you are seeing on your screens right now. The Congress party, though, have denied also tickets, but for the Bharatiya Janata Party, at least on 5 of these seats, and one of them is a 6-time MLA. He has been a very, very strong supporter of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, when he was asked, why did you not go and speak to Prime Minister Narendra Modi about you being dropped, he said, I don't need to speak to the Chief Minister. I have a direct line with the Prime Minister. I will only speak to him. Harsh Sanghavi, the BJP Home Minister in Gujarat, has been given the charge to try and persuade these MLAs to sit down. While the Congress party, which already saw vandalism today in their office in Ahmedabad, it was against one of the candidates who was given ticket. The supporters of the other candidate who was seeking ticket there, they came and vandalized the Congress office. In fact, they burned the images of the Congress leadership in Gujarat, saying that they have taken money for this ticket. But the Congress also is facing problems in at least 4 to 5 seats. 19 of Congress MLAs, those who had ticket in 2017 and were denied ticket this time, have joined the BJP already, out of which 7 have been given ticket by the BJP. And very quickly, just mention the Aam Aadmi Party as well. It was after Mr. Gadvi was announced as their Chief Minister candidate, a strong candidate like Indranil Rajguru has left the party, and he is now in the Congress party. So all parties hit by a little bit of rebellion there, Sonia.
Tanushree, what are you hearing there on the ground? How much of an impact is the rebel factor likely to have, especially at a time when the BJP seems very much in pole position and with the Prime Minister making it clear that the vote is for him, not for any local MLAs or candidates?
Well, Sonia, it was for the first time ever that the Bharatiya Janata Party headquarters in Gandhinagar, which is known as the Kamalam office, saw protests by their own workers. In fact, the doors were shut due to security reasons. And in fact, the Congress office also witnessed vandalization by their own workers. Now, coming back to your question, the BJP is very much confident that the rebel MLAs are not going to dent the party's image, and they are not going to make, any impact on the upcoming polls or their results. But we have been speaking to the rebel MLAs, and all of them are saying that the candidates now being fielded by the Bharatiya Janata Party. They do not have any public support or love on the ground, and we are now going to fight against the Bharatiya Janata Party as independent candidates, and we are definitely going to win against their candidates. Let's see how this pans out. But the Bharatiya Janata Party, as far as they are concerned, they are very much confident that it's not going to make any impact on the image of the Bharatiya Janata Party or their work, because most of them are saying, the top brass is saying, Sonia, that people on the ground in Gujarat are only going to remember Prime Minister Modi and the developmental work done by the BJP. So they are quite confident that the rebel MLAs are not going to actually make any impact on the polls or the results, Sonia.
Moving now to international news. Well, Ukrainian President Zelensky has visited the city of Kherson after a Russian retreat here. The national anthem of Ukraine was played here once again.
A proud, relieved President Zelensky in Kherson, a newly liberated city after 9 whole months under Russian control. Residents are ecstatic, crying tears of joy and hugging the soldiers who liberated their city. But both have a daunting task ahead of them, clearing Kherson of explosive devices that the Russian military has booby-trapped the city with, and restoring basic amenities like water, medicine, electricity and food. Zelensky also claimed that Russian troops committed multiple war crimes in the region. However, Ukraine's retaking of Kherson is a significant milestone for Ukrainian forces and an equally big embarrassment for the Kremlin, which has suffered a series of military setbacks in the recent months of the war. But the Ukrainian president vows that Kherson won't be the last region that Ukraine takes back.
Місяці російської окупації, місяці знущань над нашими людьми, місяці розповідей, що Росія там нібито назавжди, а все одно на вулицях море українських прапорів.
The retaking of Kherson has cut off yet another supply line for the Russians, and as the war enters its 9th month, Russian troops have withdrawn from the offensive to the defensive behind the Dnipro River, leading to the question, has the war become completely untenable for Russia? Narendra Singh for NDTV.